Hi guys, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be reading an article about mass extinction. You should at this time have your worksheet with you to answer the following questions. That is also in the slideshow. So make sure you're answering these questions because these are something you're also going to be graded on. The article again is called Mass Extinction. We're going to kind of go through this and then answer some questions. And then furthermore, we're going to talk a little bit about fossils and some definitions you're going to need to know. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to read this together. There's this little tool down here. Everybody should have access to this ebook. If not, you should have a book. So if you have questions on how to use this, let me know if you're having issues. Otherwise, I'm going to zoom in and you can just follow along with me. So as we read, here we go. The fossil record shows millions of species appearing and disappearing through the Earth's history. When the last organism of a species no longer exists, we say the species has gone extinct. Scientists estimate that about 99.9% of all species that have ever existed on the Earth are now extinct. Species go extinct at a low rate all the time, but Earth has also seen a few mass extinctions. During mass extinction, more than 75% of all the species go extinct within several millions of years. Several million years is relatively a short part of the Earth's 4.6 billion years. Evidence from the fossil record points to at least 5 mass extinctions. What does it take to wipe out most of the life on planet? So, looking at this picture, obviously we can see that there is an organism here and that this is a fossil. So this kind of tells us a little bit that bones, shells, and then other parts can be hard in rock surfaces that leave a fossil for us to understand life history of things that have gone extinct. Now, when you turn to the next page, there's 5 big mass extinctions that have happened in our history. As you flip through these pages, you'll see them, and it kind of tells a little bit about when it happened, the cause, and the organisms that generally habitated during those times. So the first one we're looking at here is in the teal blue. This one is the Ordovician. Again, I apologize for words. I'm not very good at spelling or saying things, so apologies in advance. But by the end of this extinction, 86% of all species had died out. This means for every 15 species alive before that event, 13 species went extinct. That's quite a lot. The cause of it was a rapid drop in the global temperatures and the climate patterns that were likely to be the cause of this extinction. Many species could not survive in the cooler conditions because more water was stored in growing glaciers and ice fields. Sea levels dropped quickly, and many marine organisms lost crucial coastal habitats. Organisms that were hit the hardest were the corals and the deep shell bottom dwelling species, such as trilobites. So this is one of the biggest things that were extinct during this time. As you looked at this diagram, you should be able to see kind of the scale there at the bottom of the timeline of when these things happened. Now, if you flip to the next page, you'll see there in the gold, there is another extinction that happened, the Devian. The Devian extinction lasted about 20 million years. So essentially, the habitat lasted that long. During this time, 75% of all the species died out. The cause of this is the fossil record shows a dramatic increase of plant diversity in the land just before the Devian extinction. The many plants took a lot of form of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, with a big decrease in carbon dioxide dramatically cooled the world, including the ocean. The organisms that were hit the hardest again were corals, brachiopods, armored fish, and small-shelled organisms called Foraminifera. Essentially, what they're talking about here is that we are looking at all the things that deceased during this time. And as you can see below on the timeline, it shows you exactly kind of when that happened. The one in like the reddish pink there is the third thing that essentially went extinct. And that happened about 250 million years ago. The Permian extinction was the largest mass extinction in Earth's history that we know of. In less than 2.5 million years, 96% of all species disappeared. Um, so 96%, I mean, that's a lot. And remember, we mentioned about 25 or 75% has to be a form of extinction, essentially. Um, all of today's life's Earth is descended from surviving 4%. I mean, that's a lot. Because of this, thick layers of ash of the Permian fossil record implies that there were major volcanic eruptions. Gases from eruptions probably caused rapid global warming and dramatic changes to the ocean's chemistry. The life that evolved from the few survivors was very different from earlier life. Corals, early terrestrial trapepods, insects, and trilobites were the organisms that were hit the hardest. So you can kind of see there when that happened. The next one is kind of one that I find the most fascinating. So if you go ahead and flip your page to here, the Jurassic extinction. This happened 200 million years ago. The Jurassic extinction lasted 1 to 8 million years. During this time, 80% of all species went extinct. The cause of this was shifting continents, probably led by massive volcanic activity in the Jurassic period. Gases released by the eruptions led to rapid global warming and drastic changes to the ocean's chemistry. Changing sea levels disrupted coastal marine habitats like coral reefs, and dramatic climate changes killed many land, plant, and animal species. The organisms that were hit the hardest were amphibians, reptiles, corals, and amniotes. As you can kind of see in the picture, it kind of shows dinosaurs and stuff. So this kind of has to deal with a little bit of global warming and a little bit of the things that happened where the Earth's surface got heated. And this kind of relates a little bit kind of what's happening today of what scientists are discussing about what is going on. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, if you flip to your next page, this happened 65 million years ago. This extinction, the one in the green, happened at the end of the period, beginning of the Tertiary period, that lasted about 2.5 million years. During this event, 76% of all species became extinct, including the dinosaurs. So this is when the dinosaurs actually became extinct. The cause was the fossil evidence showing a widespread of volcanic activity affecting life at the end of this period. One opinion is that the asteroid impacted the southern Mexico that led to a catastrophic event to the entire Earth, essentially. Because of the poisonous gases and the dust that hit the sun, without sunlight, plants died and the temperature dropped without food. The large dinosaurs died, and only small creatures survived in the new climate. Again, the organisms that were hit the hardest were plants, dinosaurs, large mammals, and mollusks. So as you can see, this is essentially when the dinosaurs, and this is a lot of what we hear about history when we talk about dinosaurs, and the things that we know that they existed, is because of the meteors that hit the Earth that caused them to go extinct. And if you look at that timeline, it doesn't seem like it happened that long ago. I mean, 65 million years, that's a long time, but you know, it's closer than some of the other things we saw that happened like 450 million years ago. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the sixth extinction. Now, remember I said there's 5 major extinctions we know about. The sixth extinction is something that we're kind of talking about for Earth's history and on our history for today. So I want you guys to understand the word Anthropocene. Okay, Anthropocene. Now, this is a new word for you. Anthropo refers to humans. For the first time in Earth's history, here in the black, one species may cause a mass extinction. So about 10,000 years ago, human populations increased, while the rate of extinction of other species dramatically increased. So that's pretty interesting, actually. In the past, changes in large Earth systems caused global climate change. The current changes are the direct result of human activity. Activities such as burning fossil fuels, pollution, habitat destruction, and overfishing are profoundly impacting life on Earth. Scientists estimate more than half of the world's species could be extinct by 2100. So if you look at it, we're in the year 2000. So they're talking not that long away actually. As the human population grows, we must figure out how to minimize our effect on Earth's climate and habitat for other species. Efforts to reduce carbon emissions are very important. Humans are aware of what is happening to the Earth, and basically it's in our hands. What we know is that this is somewhat of a controversial topic when we talk about it, because there's some people that don't believe in global climate change, and there's some people that do. What we do know is that things are changing in our Earth, and that we are continuing to build, and that ecosystems are changing. For example, if you see a new housing development that's going up, oftentimes they have to cut things down. And how we get our oxygen is from trees. It's a cycle, and this is something you'll learn in another unit about how we kind of get our oxygen and how that it's a cycle. And basically all of this is a cycle. Earth's a cycle. And this is one of the things they're talking about is destruction, and how things are causing things to happen. And these dates are very estimated. We don't know for a fact when these things existed, and we don't know if we will go extinct. We hope we won't, but based off our history, it's a possibility. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, what we're going to do is go through some questions we have based off the reading we had. So on your papers, you should be able to answer the following questions that we're going to be going through. So the first question you have is, what do you think the period of time is referred to as the Anthropocene? This is again referring to humans. So why do you think it's referred to as that? We kind of just went over that, so you should be able to answer this question pretty easily. So make sure you answer that question. If you need to pause the video to do so, please feel free to do that. All right, the next question you're going to need to answer is, what humans' actions are causing changes to the world? Again, in that black section, you should be able to answer that. Again, if you need to pause the video to answer this question, go ahead and do that now. All right, the next question you're going to answer is, what is the proposed connection between human actions and extinction? Again, we just went over that, so if you need a second to pause the video to answer that question, go ahead and do that now. All right, and the last question you have here is, what does the author state that the Earth's future is in our hands? So this is kind of an open-ended question. So this is up to you to kind of answer in your opinion. And maybe you go ahead and support that with evidence, maybe from the reading, maybe things you've understood. This is a great question to answer. So if you need to do so, go ahead and pause the video to answer that now. All right, so one of the things you need to do to make sure you understand these key vocab words are going to be essential for your understanding. Biodiversity, we've gone over that earlier in our lessons. Extinction, we've talked a lot about that today. Fossils, we talked about that yesterday. Organisms, I talked about that on the first day. Sediment, we talked about that with fossils yesterday. Sedimentary rock, that's also something we touched on yesterday, and our fossil record, which is also something we talked about yesterday. Make sure you're able to define these key vocab words, because these will help you understand things as we continue to go through our unit. And then in your summary section that you'll have to ask or answer on your packets is, what does fossil record tell us about the history of life on Earth? Remember, this is our key thing and our key information we are going to come back to continuously. So make sure you're able to answer this as we go through our lessons and our unit. All right, and the last thing you're going to do today is you are going to do this web chart. The keyword you have here is fossil. You need to define what it is over here, and then you need to tell me what it is. What is it like? You can be open with this, but it's helpful if you provide it with supporting details. So make sure you put the page number that you found this in the book, or give a really good example so I'm able to see that you aren't just putting some gibberish in a box. And then some examples. We looked at fossil records, so you should be able to tell me what a fossil is. What are some examples? What do they look like? What is it? Maybe even define what that organism is, so that I can see that you are able to clearly give me examples. So, to end today, your homework is you are going to research one organism from biodiversity and one fossil. Remember, biodiversity are things that, exists throughout many ecosystems. And then a fossil is something that is no longer existing, something that is in rock, something that is from history, something that's been extinct. So you need to provide 2 interesting facts about each. You can search this on the internet. You can use something that we've done in class, but you should be able to do this on your homework sheet and turn that in through Schoology. Again, this is due tomorrow, so make sure that you get this done. If you have any questions, please email me or ask on the forum so I can go ahead and answer those for you. Make sure you get your work done for class so that you are able to answer those questions, because you will need to know those as we continue to move forward through our lessons. Other than that, have a great day.